Let's go ahead and get started. Appreciate you guys joining me today. And we're going to be talking about doing public facing forms for SharePoint Online. My name is Will Cooper. I am a training coordinator and SharePoint consultant, and I do a lot of different things in SharePoint and in Office 365. And we're going to talk about how to tackle this unique challenge. So thank you, everybody, for joining today. All right, so I've got a quick presentation to show you guys, and then we can jump in and I'll actually show you some features and functionality and how you're able to do this kind of thing. So let me just do a quick background and then we'll kind of get into this. So just to tell you about a little bit about Infowise, we're focused on forms-based business solutions for SharePoint, and we're really about making things easy. That's what we love to do. And we really also love to improve and add features and make things better. And we've pretty much been doing this continuously over the whole lifetime of our product, which is really since the inception of SharePoint back in the 2000s. So these tools that I'm going to be showing today, it is a full form building solution and platform along with workflow and all the related processes and features. These deploy completely inside of your SharePoint environment, and it's available both for on-premise and Office 365. And this is a comprehensive tool set. If you stick around towards the end, we'll be doing a giveaway of an embroidered Infowise shirt that is available for people living inside of the United States. So we'll do a drawing for that in the end. During the presentation, if you guys have questions, you should use the GoToWebinar interface to enter those questions. We'll try to answer them that way. Also, at the end of the presentation, we tend to take some time to answer some of those follow-up questions and things like that. Outside of that, you can obviously email to us at sales@infowisesolutions.com. Okay, so that's enough of the setup for that. Okay, so let's talk about the specific presentation and our goals for today. So what we're talking about doing is trying to set up public-facing forms. And what I mean by that is forms where it's not a member of your organization. It's somebody who isn't doing any kind of login or anything like that. It's just somebody arriving at your website or using an email link, and they just need to submit some information to you to make some kind of request. And you need to make that as simple and easy as possible for them. So that's public-facing forms. Some of the key features we want to incorporate, regardless of the kind of form that we're doing, we want to make sure this form is going to work great both for your desktop user or somebody who's on their phone who's making that request to you. We want to incorporate some automation to make things happen automatically. So naturally, that would include email notifications and follow-up. We want to block spam submissions. As I say, this is not an authenticated user. You may be aware that on public websites, if you don't take measures, you get things like bots that can come in and you get submissions that aren't from people, and that's bad. So we want to have that incorporated in there. And then also, of course, this is your customer information they're providing, including their email, phone number, things like that. We need that to be encrypted. We want to make sure that other people don't get a hold of that. So having secure data is certainly something we want. We want to be able to have something that is a different user interface for your customer versus your own use. That is to say, the person making the request just fills out a basic form, but when you access these forms on your end, you of course need to do additional steps and follow-ups and things like that. So I'll show you how we can make that kind of thing work. We want to do tracking. Obviously, you don't want anything to fall through the cracks. You want to be able to do things like track status and priority and make sure each of these requests have been attended to and you can route them properly. I mentioned email notifications already. We don't want this to look like SharePoint. I think you all know what I mean. When you're in SharePoint, it has a particular kind of a look and feel. And we want to make this form look exactly how we want, nice and clean, no extra buttons or interface, just exactly what we need, nothing more. So that pretty much covers the key features. That's our goals. That's what we want to accomplish when we're doing this kind of thing. Okay, so just some general principles in terms of creating this. This is the process of setting it up. We want to do something where we can build our form quickly and easily. We don't want to have to do any programming or coding, and you'll see we don't have to do anything like that. We want to have something that we can test very quickly. We want to be able to do basic layouts. We don't have to do any fancy, cascading style sheets or HTML or any of that kind of crazy stuff. Just stuff that we can put together fast and then make adjustments to. We want to do those in small changes. That's why I said bite-sized pieces. We want to do testing, meaning we want to test submitting this form. We want to try it on our mobile device, try it different ways, see what it looks like. Want to get going with that early in the process. We don't want to try to build everything perfectly before we even do a single test. So we're going to create some dummy records and test it out that way. So that's a good way to approach doing this kind of project. All right, so this is kind of how I see working with our tools versus out-of-the-box SharePoint. I imagine many of you have looked at different options in terms of different things you can do to build this kind of solution, and it can get a bit confusing, or at a very minimum, it can be more challenging than you expect, and you may find some limitations and obstacles. I do feel that our tool set really gives you the ability to do all this very easily. You don't have to be a developer or anything like that. In fact, you don't have to do any code whatsoever. You just use configuration menus and a drag and drop style interface. I'll show you that as I move on. Our product is available both for on-premise and SharePoint Online. The solution I'm demonstrating today is for our Office 365 customers. So if you do have a Office 365 SharePoint Online environment, you are in luck. This is kind of the process that I mentioned earlier. Basically, you're going through an iterative approach where you make changes, you publish those, and then test it out. So again, we want to do bite-sized pieces, make small adjustments, test it out, and that's generally how development of this kind of form will go. All right, guess what? We're done with this presentation. I'm going to just jump right into SharePoint. So let's take a look at doing a public-facing form. Okay, so for my example, you can apply this to really any kind of public-facing form, but I just needed some kind of a use case. What I did is I created a customer support system. So this would be a form that customers can fill out, just from a link in your public website, or alternatively, like I said, you could send that hyperlink through email. So no login, nothing like that. So I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like from the user standpoint, first of all, and then we'll go in and see how it's created. So as you can see, I'm in SharePoint right now. So we're going to kind of look at it from different views just to show you, kind of every side of it, so to speak. So as I mentioned, this is just a basic form, so nothing too exciting here. I do kind of have sort of a user-friendly image at the top and banner. What you can see is this is just a very basic kind of a form that I'm setting up. So do this. And so this is the kind of thing you usually see in a form for a customer. You don't want to ask them a million questions. You just want to make it really easy for them to make a request, kind of as painless as possible. And in this case, I have kind of a drop down of different things they need. I'll just say I want technical support. I've got this option here. Notice I kind of have a conditional question. So if you're a current customer, then it pops in this account number into view. So you could kind of have some branching logic, show or hide form sections based on how they answer. So you can kind of get as fancy as you want there. Let's see, I need, okay, I'm just going to kind of speed things along. So they submit Now, it doesn't look this way to them. I'm just showing you what it looks like in SharePoint. And you can see my request is up at the top. There's an automatic identifier, which was assigned to it by default as a status of requested, that kind of thing. And let me show you real quick because I don't want to forget. I'm just going to prove my point as far as the interface. So this is using the URL that your customer will have. You can see in their interface, it doesn't look like SharePoint at all. They're not in SharePoint. It's just a public URL that you provide to them. I'm showing it in this small window to demonstrate to you that it's a responsive design. The layout will adapt according to the user's screen size. So you can see this is kind of what it would look like, this is exactly how it would look like on the phone. So you can see it's a different kind of setup for that. So as I say, they don't see SharePoint, so you can see that it adapts depending on their screen size. Another thing I want to call out, I mentioned it in some of our goals, has the CAPTCHA baked into it. So if you don't know much about those, it's that kind of thing. Sometimes you've seen it where it asks you to, identify something in pictures or type the text. And all that's just about blocking bots. And again, it's about blocking the spam submissions. So on the public facing form, like I said, that's baked into it. You don't have to worry about any of that. It's taken care of for you automatically. Okay. What I want you to notice when I go back into the form in SharePoint, I will see a different interface. Okay, so do you see that blue box at the bottom? I've got this whole section at the bottom of the form. So this is for internal use. So you guys have requests coming in from your customers or on this public form, whatever that form may be. And this is for tracking. You may want to assign it, route it to somebody, send a follow-up back to the customer, whatever you want to do. So I've got some different statuses in here with some icons. I'm going to say it's in process based on the request. I'm going to say it's priority 2. I'll assign it to myself. Okay. And then support it. So again, this isn't anything that the customer sees. This is kind of internal facing information, which I can use as part of that tracking. So this internal notes, and then I'm going to do something else. I have this email response. So rather than kind of work outside of the system or jump over to Outlook or anything like that, I'm going to kind of keep it all nice and encapsulated in here. So I'll say, let's see, this was from that person. Okay, I'll say, sorry about your error. Can I call you? Okay, and then once I put that, I can do this send email and just let my system sort of do it for me automatically. So that'll send some notification back to them. I'll get into my email in a second and show you a little bit about this. It's kind of handled automatically. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you kind of what the email notifications can look like. And 1 second, I'm getting that open. Bear with me. Okay, there you go. So like I said, the emails are a prompt to take action, right? So internally, you want to get an email, right? So this is what you'd see internally. And then also you have email notification that goes out to the person who's making the request, just to say, yes, we got your request. Someone's going to follow up. We'll help you out, et cetera. So you want all that to happen automatically. You don't want to be copying and pasting emails or doing something in Outlook or whatever. If I'm a manager in this organization, like I say, you want to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. If you don't do this tracking in here, you're just taking it on good faith that somebody has emailed to follow up with that person. And as we know, sometimes that doesn't happen, and that might lead to an angry customer. That's not a very good situation. So there's a lot of value in kind of doing it all in this system. So why is all this so valuable? Well, there is no way with SharePoint Online to do public facing forms otherwise. There is Microsoft Forms. Let's talk about that briefly. This is a very basic form building tool. In fact, in their marketing, they say, create quizzes or surveys, that type of thing. It's really intended for very simple purposes. In terms of the look and feel and the branding, you really have very little control over that. If I was in a form, it would be pretty obvious to me if it was a Microsoft form. If you're getting RSVPs for a child's birthday party or something like that, that's fine. Or other simple purposes, you can do that. But as I say, in terms of a robust business solution for tracking and management, that's certainly not the appropriate path to move forward. Aside from that, you don't really have other great options other than possibly looking at another platform. But as you would agree, you guys use SharePoint a lot and use it to track and manage processes in your organization. It certainly can make a lot of sense to do this here, so that, like I say, you're being efficient and tracking, assigning somebody to handle it, and you can handle automation and things like that. Okay, just as another quick example, I'll just show you another form I have set up in another site, just to give you another example real quick. This is a site I've set up for myself, and I just did it for a contact form. And again, when this comes up, it doesn't look like SharePoint or anything at all, but I can have somebody type in and it automatically generates an email notification to me. Very simple like that. Now, I imagine a lot of you guys already have this kind of thing, but what is likely missing is it doesn't automatically route this information in SharePoint, and then you don't get to do things like automatic workflow or notifications or things like that in SharePoint. So this is an opportunity where you can do this, and it's unlimited. You could do this for any of your public-facing forms. Okay, let's get into the build. Let's talk about, how did I make this thing? How does it work? What's the machinery and what's happening behind the curtain? So I'm going to get into that now. So this is Ultimate Forms. It's a tool set that is an add-in for SharePoint. As I mentioned, it's baked right into SharePoint. You don't have to do anything special to get to it. If I click on this button, which is the Ultimate Forms Design button, it takes me to this hub screen with all the various tools and functionality that I can use. Naturally, the thing that is most important and the first part of your process is the form setup and design. So that's in our form designer tool, and I'll go into that now. This is what it looks like. I did make the assertion that you don't have to do any fancy code or special things to get this kind of layout, and I'm going to try to show you that it is truly simple to set this up. Okay, so this top part, that's just an image control. I referenced the URL. I did make that centered, and then I have a header with kind of a high contrast theme. You can see all this is driven by drop downs and things like that. And then I have these containers that I put on. So all I do is drag these onto the form, and then it's a control that I can work with. And all I do is have to click on it. In the case of the main form for the styling, all I did here is put a solid 1 pixel border, did a little padding, 10 pixel padding, and I set a background color. Just for kicks, why don't I go ahead and change that color just to kind of like see how this thing works. So make it like a light green. You can see it changes real time. And then I can do containers inside a container. So, I have like this container, and I set it to have 3 columns. So you can see I can like group 3 fields together, and then kind of break up the form that way. Now you can do dynamic forms, and dynamic meaning they change depending on status or based on the user role or things like that. We do that through various roles. So I made this whole blue section for internal use in the business, In this case, it's pretty easy because that new request form, if it's the new form, I don't want to show all that. It's only in the follow-ups on SharePoint. So the customers don't, in this case, access the form after they make their initial submission. So to do this rule, it was ridiculously easy, actually. I just had to put a rule to say on the new form, hide this, and I just assign it to this box. And everything inside of the box automatically follows that same pattern. So I just select that radio button, hide, and the checkbox for the new form. And then I said on the edit and display, then go ahead and make it writable. And that is the entirety of what I had to do to get that kind of function set up. And I also have some other rules in here as well. So you saw that thing, for example, if it's a current customer, I want the account number to show up. So I made another couple of rules for that. So I said if if that field's yes, if the customer field equals yes, then make that writable. So it only shows in the view when this checkbox gets checked and it disappears otherwise. And also I can do conditional validation. I made a rule and I said that if the length of this is, we want to assert the length that's more than 0. And what will happen is if you had somebody fill out this form, they say, yes, I'm a current customer, and then they don't give their account number, it would bop them and say, account number required if you're a customer. So you can do conditional situations like that. So that's the form designer. Really easy to work with. Like I said, you can just drag and drop controls out onto the form. It's very simple. What you see is what you get. You don't need any special training or anything like that. I can also do things like change the default buttons in SharePoint. So I made this usually says save. I changed it and I made it say submit instead. So that's pretty cool. And the external URL, the way you get to that in Form Designer is you click this button, it says external form, and then it gives you a couple options. And this is the URL for this form that I set up. It provides it to you automatically, and you simply copy and paste that link wherever you want to provide access to the form. And that's all that I had to do there. That's pretty much it. There's a lot of things that you can do in Form Designer. I'm not going to delve into all of that. I just want you to understand that it's a very nice, clean Canvas interface, drag and drop, very easy to work with, no programming. It's intuitive, and there is nothing at all like this in SharePoint otherwise. It's a really nice thing to have available. Now, there's some additional stuff that I wanted. You saw that I wanted to have email notifications, and that is another part of our tools that is available. So I set up some basic email alerts that's in our system. And in our alerts tool, I made alerts for 3 conditions. One is I want to tell the person who made that request, hey, yes, we got your request and we're working on it. So the way that I create those, first I just create a mail template and I come in here. Again, it's all just through configuration and visual tools. And I can set up the subject line, and then I'll even insert fielded information. So they provided me their name. I just said, hello, whoever their name is. Thanks for your request. A member of our staff will soon follow up, and then just kind of repeated back some of the information they entered. So that makes them feel good. Okay, good. They've got my request. They're working on it. All right, so that was one of them. And then that is the content of the email. I have to have a trigger for that, right? So the way I do that is I set the recipient, and I can just pick that column. They enter their information in the email column. That's what I have up there. And then I just say, when a new item comes in, please go ahead and send that and use that template. And then I have other ones as well, right? So I wanted an internal notification that would go to the support team or whoever in your organization. And then also, if you remember, I had kind of a special one where it's a follow-up, right? So I want to reply back to them. And rather than doing it through my email, I want it tracked in this system. So the way I made that one work is I have a trigger. The trigger is when the send email checkbox gets checked, I want this to go out. So it's on a modify, send the email after change equals yes, and then it will send my support request, send email. I'll just pull that up real quick. There it is. This is the content. It says, hey, and then it's whatever the person in your organization typed in. It automatically goes in there. Okay, so that's the email templates. Those are easy to work with. You can do all kinds of different automation. I wanted to do a couple of things when that email box gets ticked. I actually need to reset the checkbox back to no. And then I want to record a date timestamp for that email. So that's about it. As far as the specific example I'm providing goes, that's kind of all that I really had to do to get this set up. In terms of these tools, there's really no limit in terms of how many forms you can do, how many submissions, all those type of things. It's automatic. It's incorporated as part of the system. So you could create as many of these as you want to. Just to go back into the request, I want to show you that. There it is, date timestamp. So if you recall, I checked this box. We just want to track that. We can see, yep, there is an email sent out on this email follow-up at that time. So that's, again, automation. We try to make that all happen automatically. We don't have anything automatic. Just make it really simple for everybody to work with. So once everything is done with that, then, all that you would do is just update the status to close out the request. I would just change this to complete. Of course, you could build an email notification for that. And then on my SharePoint dashboard, I can see that. So you could do some tracking and things like that. There's quite a lot more I could do with this. This is really kind of the tip of the iceberg. It just depends on the extent of functionality you want to build into the system. But you can hopefully see a lot of potential there. How would you guys work with this? How do you access the tools? Let's kind of get into that real quick. The most important thing, if you take nothing away from our call today, if you don't have these tools and you want to try it out, I really would like for you to try it out, and we can help you if you need extra help. To do that, just go to Quick Start, and in here you can click on Download under Installation. It gives you all the instructions. Click on SharePoint Online. We have a couple of install methods, but this will give you a 30-day trial of our software. It is our full software. You can do everything with it. The only limitation is that it'll last for 30 days. Another thing that you can do, if you want to have a one-on-one meeting with us, if you want to do a web meeting and have something more interactive, just click on Request a Demo. You can enter your name and information in there. We'll follow up, we'll set a web meeting, and we can talk to you about your project or your specific needs and what you want to do. And then in our site, we have all kinds of resources to help you know what to do. I know it can be daunting when you're starting with a new software, but we have lots of articles and information to start you out. If you go to our Getting Started section, there's information on there. There's step-by-step examples that shows you exactly what to do. That'll kind of get you on a path where you understand how to work with this. At this stage, I do want to go ahead and give our shirt away. I want to do our drawing. The way that's going to work is you're going to use the questions interface. And what I'd like you to do at this time is make one entry, and I want you to enter a number between 1 and 100. I'm going to give you about 15 seconds to put in your numbers, and then I'm going to choose, and we'll move on. All right, coming fast and furious. I'll give you 5 more seconds, and I'll go ahead and make a choice or find out who's closest. All right, I think I have got the winner. Okay, Nicholas Panko. Nicholas, please send me an email to willc@infowisesolutions.com, WILLC. Go ahead and send me your address and your shirt size. We'll get that out to you today. Congratulations, Nick. Let's see if I kind of left anything out. There's all kinds of information. I don't want to inundate you with too much. I know there's lots of questions in the chat. We're going to go ahead and stay on to answer those questions. And like I say, please send us an email or make a demo request if you want additional. But we'll go ahead and stay on our session. That does conclude our presentation for today. I hope you found it useful. These tools are awesome. I love to use them, and I very much hope if you don't already have these tools that you'll soon be trying them out and that we can help you to get ramped up using it. Thanks everybody for joining.